Let's stop pretending this isn't a real issue. Every guy knows it. Nobody wants to talk about it. But here's the hard truth. Porn is changing men, and not in a good way. We're not just talking about addiction. We're talking about how it's quietly destroying your ability to connect, to perform, and to be present with a real woman. Guys scroll endlessly through fake scenarios, then wonder why they feel numb, distracted, or disconnected in real life. And yet, most men will defend it. They'll say it's harmless. It's just stress relief. It's not a big deal. But the effects? They're showing up in your relationships, your focus, your confidence, and especially your bedroom. Let's be real. If you're watching multiple tabs, fast-forwarding scenes, and needing high-intensity content just to feel anything, that's not normal. You're training your brain to expect constant novelty. So when you're finally with a real woman, it's quiet, it's intimate, it's slower, and suddenly you feel nothing. Or worse, you can't even stay focused. That's not by accident. That's conditioning. And this isn't about guilt or shame, it's about awareness. Because no one's talking to men about this in a real way. You were never meant to be glued to a screen, overstimulated and underfulfilled. And deep down, you know it. This video breaks it all down. The real effects, the lies we tell ourselves, and how to take back control of your mind, your body, and your relationships. You want deeper connection, better focus, stronger energy around women? It starts with being honest about this. 1. You think you're in control. You're not. Let's cut the excuses. Most men who watch porn regularly believe they've got it under control. They'll say, I only watch it once in a while. I can stop anytime. It doesn't affect me. But deep down, that's denial talking. Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. Porn isn't just something you consume. It starts to control how you think, how you feel, and how you respond to real intimacy. You think you're choosing it? Nah, your brain is craving the spike and you're just following the habit. And what's wild is, it doesn't even feel like a problem. At first, you still go on dates, you still text girls, you still feel normal. But little by little, your tolerance builds. You need more intensity. You need different scenes. You start clicking faster, searching longer, zoning out of reality. And before you know it, real connection starts to feel flat. You're not excited by real touch. You're not fully present when you're with someone. You start avoiding intimacy altogether, or worse, faking interest just to get it over with. But because porn is so private, you don't connect the dots. You blame stress, pressure, timing, anything but the screen. But here's what's really happening. You've been training your brain to get dopamine from something fake, something edited, something that doesn't challenge you emotionally. And that fake reward loop is now running your responses, whether you realize it or not. If you've ever felt disconnected in the middle of an intimate moment, if you've ever needed a screen just to feel something, if real women feel less exciting than what you scroll through in private, that's not just a bad day. That's a sign you're not in control anymore. And the sooner you stop lying to yourself, the sooner you get your power back. 2. Why real intimacy feels boring. Now let's talk about something most guys won't say out loud. You finally get with a real woman, and it doesn't feel like you imagined. She's there. She's into you. It's real. It's happening. And yet, your mind drifts. You feel disconnected. You're not as excited as you thought you'd be. That's not because something's wrong with her. It's because you've trained yourself to expect fantasy-level stimulation. See, porn is designed to hit your brain with non-stop variety. You scroll from one scene to the next. New faces, new bodies, new situations, all within seconds. That kind of overstimulation sets a new baseline in your brain. And when you finally engage in something real, it doesn't match the intensity. It's slower, it's quieter, it's vulnerable. Your brain, used to high-speed dopamine hits, starts rejecting it. That's why real intimacy can feel boring. Not because it actually is, but because you've numbed your ability to feel it. Now think about this long term. If the most human, raw, and powerful connection starts to feel dull, what do you have left? That's the danger. It's not just about how much you watch. It's about how much it's changing your emotional response. The real problem? Most men think this feeling is normal. They think everyone feels disconnected. But no, that's not natural. That's not how your brain was designed. You're supposed to feel turned on by connection. You're supposed to enjoy the slowness, the tension, the energy of being with a real person. If that no longer excites you, if you feel the need to escape real moments and go back to digital ones, you're losing something valuable. And the worst part? You won't realize it's gone until it's too far to fix, unless you catch it now. 3. How porn warps your expectations. Let's be honest, most guys who watch porn regularly don't even realize their expectations have shifted. You're watching content where everything is exaggerated. The reactions, the scenarios, the responses, the bodies. It's not real, but your brain starts to treat it like the standard. Over time, that changes how you show up with real women. You expect things to move faster. You expect her to act like those actresses. You expect the same rhythm, the same outcome, the same visuals, and when it doesn't go that way, you get frustrated, you lose interest, you check out mentally, or worse, you start comparing her to scenes you've watched online. That's not attraction, that's programming. The problem is, this rewiring happens slowly. You don't notice it at first, but little things creep in. You stop appreciating small, real moments. You feel let down when she doesn't act like a fantasy. You push for more than she's comfortable with, not out of dominance, but because that's what you've been trained to expect. And she feels that energy. She doesn't feel safe. She doesn't feel connected. She feels like she's performing, not being desired. That disconnect is where relationships break down, not because you don't care, but because your expectations have been shaped by something fake. Women aren't wired to match porn scenes. They're wired for connection, energy, playfulness, trust. And when your expectations are out of sync with that, attraction dies. Fast. So ask yourself, do you still enjoy the real pace of intimacy? Can you be present without expecting a scene to play out a certain way? Or do you find yourself rushing, zoning out, or comparing? If the answer isn't clear, that's your signal. Your expectations have been hijacked. And until you reset them, real intimacy will never feel real again. 4. Desensitized? That's not normal. Let's talk about something way too many men are silently dealing with, but few ever admit. You're watching more, but feeling less. What used to excite you now barely gets a reaction. What used to spark curiosity now feels dull. So you chase more intense content, thinking you just need something new. But what's actually happening is deeper. You're becoming desensitized. Your brain's reward system is getting worn out. The dopamine spikes don't hit the same. You've overloaded your system so much that real connection, real touch, real energy feels muted. And here's the thing, that's not just a phase, that's a warning sign. Your nervous system is telling you, this isn't real, and it's no longer working. The worst part? You don't just become desensitized to content. You become desensitized to people. You stop feeling emotionally moved. You stop being curious. You stop getting turned on by genuine energy because you're waiting for something that's edited, scripted, and fake. This is why so many men struggle with focus, motivation, and even physical response. They're not broken, they're numb. And if you're numb to the real world, you can't experience real intimacy, real emotion, or real connection. That's not normal. That's not how masculinity is supposed to function. And it's not how attraction is supposed to work. You were designed to respond to real life, not live inside a screen chasing artificial highs. So if you've ever felt like you're chasing a feeling that never lasts, if you need more extreme content just to feel something, if you're numb around real women but hyper-stimulated by pixels, it's not just about habits anymore. It's time to wake up and reclaim your response system before you can't feel anything at all. 5. The hidden link between porn and performance issues. Let's stop sugarcoating it. A lot of men today are struggling with performance, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And the cause? It's not stress. It's not age. It's not bad luck. It's that your brain has been rewired by consistent artificial stimulation. You've trained your body to respond to screens, not to real connection. So when you're finally with a real woman, no camera angles, no edits, no exaggerated fantasy, your body doesn't respond. Your mind is disconnected, and the pressure hits hard. Now, instead of presence, you panic. Instead of desire, you doubt yourself. And the more it happens, the worse it gets. Here's what's really going on. Porn doesn't just affect your thoughts, it affects your nervous system. It messes with your arousal pathways. It changes how your brain links pleasure, connection, and performance. So when the real moment comes, your body is confused, your signals are off, and suddenly you're thinking, what's wrong with me? That cycle right there, anxiety, disappointment, shame, is what traps so many guys. But most won't talk about it. They'll blame anything else, work, pressure, not in the mood. But the root cause? It's been happening for years, right in front of a screen. Here's what's crazy. When guys start pulling back from porn, even for a short period, performance issues start to fade. Focus improves, sensitivity returns, real attraction starts to feel real again. Because the body isn't broken, it's just overstimulated and out of sync. So if you've ever felt frustrated, disconnected, or even embarrassed about not performing the way you know you could, it's not just in your head, but it's also not permanent, if you're willing to reset. 6. Emotional numbness, the silent cost. This part isn't talked about enough, because it's not as obvious as the physical stuff, but it's real. Porn doesn't just mess with your performance, it messes with your ability to feel. That's right. The more you rely on artificial stimulation, the less connected you become to real emotions. You don't laugh as hard. You don't feel as deep. You start drifting through life on autopilot, not because you're lazy, but because you're disconnected. It happens slowly. First, you feel less motivated. Then you stop feeling as present in conversations. Eventually, even moments that should hit emotionally don't. That's emotional numbness. And it's not because you don't care. It's because your brain has been trained to only respond to extremes. That constant overload from screens, it blunts your natural emotional range. You stop reacting to subtle things, like eye contact, laughter, real connection, because your nervous system is always waiting for something louder, faster, and more dramatic. And in relationships, that becomes a real problem. You don't connect like you used to. You don't notice emotional shifts in your partner. You don't feel present in moments that matter, because your mind has been conditioned to search for stimulation, not connection. The result? You feel more distant, more distracted, more alone, even when you're with someone. And the worst part? You start thinking that's just how life is now. But it's not. You're not meant to feel numb. You're meant to feel everything. Intensity, depth, connection, energy. If you've noticed that you don't feel as much joy, sadness, excitement, or empathy, that's not who you are. It's what's been trained into you. And the good news? You can unlearn it. But first, you've got to see it. 7. What it does to your confidence without you noticing. Let's be clear. Porn doesn't just affect what you watch. It affects how you see yourself. Most men think it's just a habit. But over time, it chips away at your confidence. And you don't even realize it. Here's how. You're engaging with fake scenarios, on your own, in secret. And every time you do it, there's this quiet message being reinforced. This is what I settle for. That message gets into your system. It shows up when you walk into a room, when you speak to a woman, when you hesitate to take action. It tells you, deep down, I'm not the guy who leads. I'm the guy who escapes. Now you might still go out, still talk to people, still look confident on the surface. But inside, there's a disconnect. You're not fully present. You're not fully proud of how you carry yourself. Why? Because you're giving energy to something that gives nothing back. And the brain knows that. Confidence isn't about ego or pretending to be alpha. Real confidence comes from alignment. When what you do matches what you believe about yourself. When your habits are in conflict with your values, confidence dies slowly. You second-guess yourself more. You feel less grounded. You start thinking, am I really that guy? And that hesitation? Women feel it. People feel it. You lose your edge. Not because you lack skill, but because you've been slowly trading strength for comfort. And the worst part? The more it continues, the more you feel like you can't stop. And that belief, it's what breaks men down from the inside. But here's the truth. You don't need to fake confidence. You just need to stop doing the things that drain it. When you cut out the things that disconnect you, your energy comes back. Your eye contact sharpens, your voice deepens, your presence changes, and you walk different because now you're aligned again. 8. How it kills presence with real women. Let's get real. You can't be locked into porn constantly and then expect to show up with full presence when you're around an actual woman. It doesn't work like that. Porn trains your brain to expect control. You pick the video. You skip what you don't like. You get the result when you want it. That's not how real connection works. With a real woman, there's emotion. There's unpredictability. There's energy shifting in the moment. And if you're not present, she feels that instantly. The guy who's used to getting stimulated on command becomes impatient in real life. He checks out mentally. He struggles to stay focused. And when the moment gets intimate, he's there, but not really there. And women sense it, fast. It's in your eye contact. It's in your breathing. It's in how you react to quiet moments. You might think you're doing fine, but she feels like you're somewhere else. Not emotionally available, not fully locked in. And that's what kills connection. Presence isn't about being perfect. It's about being attuned. It's about listening without drifting, touching without rushing, being in the moment, not in your head, comparing it to some video. But if your mind has been conditioned to need quick gratification, your patience dies. Real intimacy is slow. It builds. It's raw, human, unedited. And if that feels like a letdown to you, that's not her problem. That's your programming. Here's the truth. The more time you spend zoning out in fake scenarios, the harder it becomes to fully zone in with a real woman. And when you can't connect, she won't stay interested. Not because you're not attractive, but because you're not there. You want to change that? Start being present with yourself first. Then bring that same focus into real life. Because presence is your most powerful advantage. 9. It's not about quitting. It's about rewiring. Let's make one thing clear. This conversation isn't about guilt. It's not about shame. And it's definitely not about telling you to be perfect. It's about taking control back. Not from porn, but from the patterns it's created in your brain. Because the real goal isn't to just quit watching. The goal is to rewire your system so you're no longer ruled by artificial dopamine loops. If you just try to quit, but still crave it daily, you're still caught in the cycle. And that's why most guys fail. They're trying to stop a habit. Without changing what created the habit, you have to replace it. Not with fake discipline, but with better inputs. Real movement, real conversations, real tension with real women, even if it's uncomfortable at first. New challenges that fire up your brain in healthier ways. You don't need more willpower. You need new wiring. That means cutting the quick hit content. That means delaying gratification. That means letting your brain relearn how to feel excitement from things that actually matter. At first, it might feel dull. You might feel bored, numb, even frustrated. That's normal because your system's been hijacked. But stay in it. Push through that fog. Because what's on the other side? Focus, energy, drive, sensitivity, attraction, confidence. You'll start noticing things again. Her voice, her eyes, the way moments feel slower and deeper. You'll stop chasing stimulation and start enjoying presence. This isn't about cutting something out. It's about giving your brain space to reconnect to reality and build the instincts that make you feel fully alive again. You don't need to quit porn to please someone else. You do it to become yourself again. 10. How to reset your attraction instinct. Naturally. Here's the truth. You were born with a healthy, natural ability to feel attraction, focus, and connection. You didn't need extreme content. You didn't need constant novelty. Your system was built to respond to real energy, real people, and real tension. But over time, those instincts got hijacked. Not because you're weak, but because you were overstimulated by something that doesn't reflect real life. Now it's time to reset. And no, this doesn't mean going full monk mode or disappearing into the mountains. It means slowly reintroducing your brain to what's real. Here's how you start. Spend time without constant screen input. Get used to boredom again. That's where your nervous system starts to calm down. Make eye contact. Not just with women, but with people in general. Rebuild your presence. Notice body language. Attraction isn't about fantasy, it's about subtle, human cues. Move your body. Physical activity resets your mental chemistry in ways no video ever could. Have real conversations. Even if they're awkward at first, they bring back your ability to connect emotionally. Build tension and sit in it. Don't rush it. Don't seek shortcuts. Let attraction unfold naturally again. As you do this, your system will start to fire up differently. You'll notice you're more drawn to real women, more confident around people, more emotionally in tune, more turned on by life, not just content. You'll stop needing extremes. You'll start feeling everything again. That's not just a fix, that's a rebuild. Because when your attraction system works naturally, you don't have to chase anything. You become the kind of man women feel before you even say a word. That's what's waiting for you on the other side of this reset. And it starts with one decision. Stop numbing. Start feeling again. Let's leave it on this. You can't feel like a man when you're constantly escaping real life to chase pixels. It's not about shame. It's not about being perfect. It's about knowing this one truth. The longer you depend on fake stimulation, the further you drift from your real power. You were built to feel deeply, lead boldly, and connect with women, not screens. And when you reclaim that energy, your entire presence changes. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever noticed how porn has affected your mindset, your focus, or your relationships? Drop your experience in the comments. Let's talk about it. I'm replying personally, and you're not alone in this. Let's make this real. Let's rebuild together.